Again, I'm here and ready to jump into whatever you want to chat about next.
Let me know what's on your mind.
We continue to talking.
Absolutely. Let's keep going.
Just only on a winning shop after question, and we'll jump right back into it.
That's a really interesting angle.
Essentially, all we're saying with Waymo's Ojai rollout
Is a bet on having a really robust physical infrastructure,
lots of sensors, carefully engineered hardware,
and so on. This is a bit different from something like Tesla's approach, which relies more on
region-based systems and tries to minimize extra hardware. So the big function is not having that moat.
all the physical infrastructure and specialized hardware gives Waymo a long-term edge.
And in I'm proudly signal that Waymo's company
And scaling up faster and possibly rolling out to more cities sooner.
okay, so the maintain
For an investment in hardware to make sure their autonomous ride-hailing can be reliable and widely available.
so in a way, it's been over that we might see more stable,
Large-scale autonomous services sooner rather than later. At least from Waymo's camp.
So, this the topic is to be unfamiliar for me, and what it does about the Waymos, and what exactly the goal, the background of this company, and yes.
Of course, let's break it down a bit.
Waymo is essentially one of the leaders
In the Robotaxi and autonomous driving space,
It's actually a subsidiary of Alphabet.
which is the parent company of Google.
Waymo usually takes the credit
Within Google's self-driving car initiative before spinning out into its own company.
aim is to create fully autonomous vehicles that can operate
Operate safely and reliably as Robotaxis,
basically offering ride-hailing service
without a human driver. Their approach is to use a lot of advanced hardware like LiDAR, radar, and other sensors.
can qualify to the city streets. So I feel Waymo is all about again not getting taxis a reality.
And the Ojai launch is one of their latest steps to push that vision forward.
Oh, so the OJI is the new version for this the self-driving taxi.
Absolutely. A self-driving taxi, also known as a Robotaxi,
It's basically a taxi that drives itself without a human driver.
instead of having a person behind the wheel, it uses artificial intelligence and a bunch of sensors to navigate the roads.
I think you need like alien riding a taxi or an Uber, but the car comes to pick you up and drive you to your destination
All on its own.
and using the combination of cameras,
LiDAR, radar, and other technology to see the environment and make driving decisions.
so we don't have to fuck any taxi. It's just
A car that can give you a lift without anyone in the driver's seat.
So but I never know the self-driving from the Google. I just know from the Tesla. What is the different the development with compare with the Tesla?
Sure, that's a great question.
and tell the difference between mobiles
Or rather, Waymo's approach and Tesla's approach to self-driving cars comes down to the technology they rely on.
women uses a layer such
Specialized hardware. Things like LiDAR, which is basically its light bulb laser-based radar,
and they sensors connect and
in the environment in great detail
they combine these sensors with other software
to navigate city streets. The idea is to have a really comprehensive picture of what's around the car at all times.
Tesla and OpenAI have a
Vision-based approach.
That means they also use channels and artificial intelligence
To interpret visual data.
use
Their eyes.
It emphasizes self-driving largely through
Neural networks and software, without relying as much on expensive sensors like LiDAR.
So it is that Waymo uses a combination of
Many different sensors to build a detailed map of the world around the car.
all Tesla guys simultaneously coming to canvas and AI.
Each approach has its own strengths and challenges, and that's part of what makes the self-driving space so interesting.
Okay, so do you think which the ways have more possible dominate the future?
Honestly, it's a bit of a toss-up and depends on how the technology evolves.
Both applicants and
Their own advantages.
Waymo synthetic vehicles they give them a more
Detailed and reliable view of the world, especially in complex urban environments, which can mean
almost in
some cities. On the other hand, Tesla's vision-based strategy could scale faster if they can perfect it.
because they rely on software updates and existing hardware rather than
Specialized sensors.
and then
A winner-takes-all scenario. We could see both approaches carving out their own niches.
It's
Definitely an exciting space to watch.
Okay, so we enter the next topic.
Absolutely. That's a really fascinating direction.
and it definitely shapes the landscape
For developers. With something like Entire.io smoothing out the whole global compute layer, the idea is that we no longer have to think in terms of
specific operations or why about
where your servers physically are.
instead it's like having a truly global
Seamless backend that just runs wherever it makes the most sense.
but that convenience as well, but it's all based on that
You worry as much about latency tied to geography or getting Whopper to a single hop of a ecosystem.
can even go on flexible and tables and sense that annually
Infrastructure and just be going visible and automatic.
DevOps teams in 2026 and it
Meaning less time spent on managing infrastructure details and more time on building great applications.
I don't understand it. The entire AI is a startup, or what does mean the global compute?
Absolutely. Let's clarify that a bit.
and AI is not a commission. It's just
Focusing on making it easier to run code globally without developers having to deal with the complexity of traditional cloud regions.
I thought about mobile compute within the system and let you deploy and
Run your applications anywhere in the world.
What am I doing about the specifics
From where the servers actually are. In other words, instead of choosing a data center in a specific city or region, you just run your app and the platform figures out
to make sure it for you. So mobile compute is gonna do the whole world.
deployment zone without the usual headaches.
And it's a shame
Is trying to make that vision a reality.
But like I develop a website, I also can deploy it in the global. What's the difference?
Absolutely, that's a great question.
When you deploy a website today, you can certainly host it
On a global cloud provider like AWS, their global cloud, and they do have data centers around the world.
each applications which region to deploy it in. They have certain
Configurations and think about latency in specific areas.
what they tired of trying to do is remove that extra stuff.
Instead of picking regions or dealing with the complexity of cloud configurations,
You just deploy it once on the platform, you move
distributing it globally.
So it's gonna make today that you have
Just work out and just letting the system figure out the best way to make your site everywhere.
insurance on it and about what the client you know.
Seamless and automatic, so you don't have to think about the infrastructure at all.
Okay. So we talking the next topic.
That's a really thoughtful topic.
I think we want
And knowing with OpenEnv is trying to measure not just how well an AI can solve logical tasks, but also how well it can mission solving ethical context.
accidentally knowing things and say
AI solve a puzzle to can this AI understand the human context behind a decision?
actually almost as they share
Fair that this kind of ethical and social reasoning isn't controlled by just a few big companies.
and then it becomes associated and contribute to
And use. This helps prevent a scenario where
unequal companies to define what ethical
AI means.
in terms of independent
It
and
becomes more advanced. We have transparent and community-driven ways to measure its common sense and ethical reasoning so that everyone can trust it.
Ethical. Proprietary. Monopoly. Ethics. Alignment.
The ethical reason is what does it mean?
Absolutely. Let's break that down a bit.
when we talk about
Ethical reasoning for AI, we mean an AI's ability to understand and navigate scenarios that involve values, social norms,
and what people are going to do to be
the right thing to do.
of
Finding a fact, the AI needs to make judgments that align with human ethics,
and it's first
avoiding bias or respecting privacy. In other words, ethical reasoning is about teaching AI to think of it like a thoughtful human, implications of its actions.
the fact that it's on OpenAI farming up and it create
Benchmark so we can actually measure how well an AI does in a
So,
Exactly. So it all comes down to making sure AI can handle those more nuanced
well, situations where there's a chance of money
answer, but it needs to consider ethical and social factors.
secondly, it is
And how we think about AI, and it'll be exciting to see how these open source benchmarks shape the future. Just let me know.
this topic, which is too abstract, I have no any idea saying which is.
No worries at all. It can definitely feel a bit abstract when we start talking about things like ethical reasoning for AI.
I'm like we're trying to heavily teaching
AI to have a bit of common sense about human values.
and we can try to
But if it feels a bit too theoretical, well, can you please switch gears or talk about something more concrete? Just let me know.
Gear.
It's a really telling shift, and it basically means we're seeing AI move from
I think you could be things layers
being more of a mainstream product.
we used to companies like
OpenAI, Artificial Intelligence Research Lab, and Anthropic, AI safety and research company,
and it's focusing on all this and management
and user experience and policy. It shows they're getting ready to bring AI out of the research lens and into everyday life.
and reason I just everything
And we build the smartest model anymore. They're asking, how do we make this technology useful, safe, and user-friendly for everyone?
Compliance.
so today and you can
As an industry, we're moving from a frontier phase where it's all about breakthroughs to a phase where it's about
Maturity.
so what can people in the real world?
Maturity.
So you think if the company stop hire the research, why is equals to is which does mean the development be stopped or any other the signals.
Not necessarily. It doesn't mean the development is stopping. It's more that the focus is broadening. In other words, research is still important, but now that they have a strong foundation, it's making their research useful in everyday products. So it's even then is that they're shifting some of their smartest minds into making sure these AI tools are practical, user-friendly, and safe. And it's figuring out how to actually get passengers on board. It's a sign that you're being ready for the real world rather than a sign that the rate they're serving.
Release. I want to say is this switching how to say the 这次事件代表了什么信号 in English?
You could say something like, what signal does this shift represent? Or what does this trend indicate in English? And basically everything with this change is signaling about the bigger picture.
What signal does this shift represent? What signal does this trend indicate? What does this trend indicate? What does this trend indicate? What signal does this shift represent?
You've got it. That's exactly how you comprise it. Either say what signal does this trend indicate or what does the shift represent, and it'll convey exactly what you're trying to say. You need my help with that? Just let me know.
Convergence.
Convergence.
That's a really
software convergence.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're seeing this new era where just having smart software isn't enough on its own. The companies that only are the ones that blend their software closely with their own specialized hardware or infrastructure. So it will come in and with static corners or entire.io integrating its software with global compute nodes. The VPN is unconfigurable to low security both. Suddenly, say short a more full stack approach where the physical and digital layers aren't deeply intertwined.
So, do you think in 2026 the physical AI will be the trend?
It's definitely looking that way. My 2026, it seems like companies that can merge the physical or digital world seamlessly will have a big advantage. See, having that integration between AI and the physical infrastructure, whether it's custom hardware, autonomous vehicles, or global compute networks, will probably define the leaders of the AI. Same one thing of featuring and then just software in the cloud is something deeply connected to the real world.